Welcome to another outrageous episode of the Show. We're two geeks who talk about everything. My name is Aaron, and I'm joined by this week's returning guest co-host, Brandon. What's up, man?
Hey, buddy. How are you? Good to see you.
Doing good, doing good. We were just talking just before we started the show. You've been on vacation this week, so I hope that's been somewhat relaxing for you.
It has, and I made this point earlier. I'm actually still drinking coffee at 12:30 in the afternoon on a Saturday, so this one should be pretty lively.
All right. So it is endlessly quotable, terrifyingly relatable, and you just have to laugh, if only to keep from crying. And if you've ever worked in an office, you know what it's about. Today we're discussing the 1999 cult classic comedy Office Space. This is one that we have kind of gone back and forth and wanted to get Brandon back on the show to talk about for a while now. And so this movie resonates with people because it really does satirize the mundane office life that so many of us have experienced at one point or another. I know not everyone works in an office, but I mean everybody at some point has to have had that boss, that manager who uh, is just like Lumbergh and wants you to come in. I'm gonna need you to come in on Saturday. Okay. So Brandon,
Thanks.
this is one we watched repeatedly back during the college days.
Mhm.
But do you remember what was your first time seeing it? Did you see it in the theaters when it first came out, or was it like one of those that we just called in the dorm?
Yeah, it was in the dorm. I don't know that I had even heard about this movie until I had gotten to Bluefield. So it was a few years later, and so and I don't remember. I can't recall who introduced me to it. If it was Derek or you or just kind of was just there. But as soon as I remember seeing that movie, I mean, I was hooked, and so I mean, I'll still watch it every time that it's on. So, and there are occasions where I will actually seek it out to watch it. But no, it was not at the theaters. It was for sure there in college.
Yeah, I want to say my first time watching it was probably on Comedy Central because it seems
Mm-hmm.
like it hit Comedy Central pretty quick after it was in the theater, and it was a staple on Comedy Central there for the first half of the 2000s. Like it feels like it was on at least once a week somewhere.
And that had to have been when because we kept it on Comedy Central there when we were there in school. I don't think it well, and we were also talking about this too, is like USAM and Comedy Central. So it varied
Right.
between those two, and then any potential sporting event for at least for Mark and I. It must have been Comedy Central because I don't know that I recall that anybody was like, "Hey, here's this." It must have just been on and just gotten hooked.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I got the DVD for it until much later. I know I wound up purchasing getting it somewhere.
Mhm.
Um, Probably one of those things where it was like a used DVD at GameStop or something.
Well, we did have the movie stars up the road, I think, didn't we? So
Oh
we might
yeah.
have been able to pick something up from there too. But I think you might be on it with the Comedy Central thing.
So we've got the story of Peter. He's rebelling against his soul-crushing office job by kind of checking out, and he gets hypnotized basically into not caring anymore, which is brilliant. So I kind of love watching that whole thing where they take down the printer in the field.
Mhm.
That is just comedy gold, and I've been there. Like I remember when I was working at SunTrust back in Raleigh. Uh, there was one time I actually had to print something off, and I went to pick it up off the printer, and it actually said PC load letter, and and
Doesn't make
I
any
I,
sense.
I looked at it and I said that, uh, and my assistant manager Ryan at the time, like he was great. I loved working for this guy. But he knew all the Office Space references. And so anytime I said something, he would just start cracking up. And so I'm standing there at the printer, and thankfully there are no customers inside the branch at the moment. And so I actually said the line PC load letter. What the does that mean? Ryan's over there at his desk, just starts cracking up. It was so great. I was like, can we not take this out and beat the crap out of it?
I
Oh
mean,
man.
but of course, that's exactly what they did, and it was to the some of the most deepest rap at that time, and it was just like they triumphantly destroyed that thing, and you could tell, Samir, he really got his last. Was it? Well, I guess it was Samir when he was like he got the guts of the printer from the inside and was uh
Pull Michael
just
away from it because he kept going at it.
just pounding away on it. Absolutely, yeah. No, you had mentioned him being hypnotized, and I was thinking through, before we hopped on, and I was like, I really do like, because I mean, there's several different. You mentioned about how endlessly quotable it is, but and I've gone back and forth on what my favorite lines are. But there have been times where I sit there, depending on how I'm feeling. But there have been times where he says, um, "When you see me, that's on the worst day of my life." he said, he said, he said each day is worse than the one before, and so when you see me, that's the worst day of my life. and
It's really
and the
messed up,
doctor
man.
was like, yeah, he goes, that's messed up, man.
Yeah, the doctor completely drops his professional demeanor. He's like, wow, that's really messed up.
It's really messed up, man. So, oh yeah, no, it's certainly, I, culturally, because that was during the Y2K bug, right? Like that was during they developed software for the Y2K bug, and you know there may be some subscribers that you have that have no idea what going through Y2K was.
No,
Um,
no. Yeah, we've got some of our young viewers, listeners that um were born way after Y2K. Like I've seen things where it's like we should tell the kids that are born, past the year 2010, just be like, man, Y2K, that was rough. We we survived Y2K. It
yeah,
was it was like this apocalyptic event and we got past it and you're welcome.
everybody was collectively holding their breath as like New Year's was starting in China and Tokyo and in Japan, all as it would hit the time zones, and it was like, well, okay, I guess we're all right then. Okay, all right.
Okay. Nothing
We're
happened.
like, that's it. Which apparently now, and this is kind of off subject, but apparently now, that's what's going to happen with this eclipse on Monday. Like,
Yeah. All the schools are
I
getting out
talked,
early.
yeah, yes, mine is she is literally going to be out of school early for this, but and I understand because because of course I'm going to say something. I was like, sarcastically be like, "What is the crap?" I'm, whatever. But I mean, Kara, my wife, she actually was like, "Well, because of the timing of when this thing is supposed to be, like, it could kind of mess with like, bus schedules or mess with, because it will get dark for, I mean, granted, but like five whole minutes where it will be dark, but um, I think because of the travel and all that stuff. So they're at least going to let them out early. We did talk about this, and I know I'm sorry, this is way off subject, but we did talk about the one that I remember the most. Of course, there was one in 2017,
Hmm.
but the one that stands out to me was 1994. And I think you and I would have been in eighth grade in two different school systems, obviously, but it was probably around March or May or so of '94. And like we were outside, like we had like a cookout or something where like the kids were outside and hanging out or whatever as the eclipse happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that one too.
Mm.
I think I was actually home alone that day. I don't know where everybody else was, but I didn't have like special glasses or anything to watch it. But I had seen, I think they had explained to us at school that you could do the thing with a piece of paper, and like the shadow would show the eclipse
Yeah.
through, like, poke a hole in one piece of paper and then
Yes.
other piece of paper underneath it, and it would show the shadow of it.
Yes.
Um, which isn't as cool, I will say, as looking at it through glasses, which is what I did for the 2017 one. And I've got my glasses ready for Monday.
Yeah, we've
Uh,
got ours.
we're gonna. I already talked to some folks at work. I was like, y'all be sure to be in the office on Monday because we're gonna go up to the garage, on the roof of the garage on Campbell,
Mm,
and we're just gonna sit up there for about an hour, and we're just gonna watch. We're gonna see what happens. And if
yeah,
the world
my
shuts down, the world shuts down. Whatever.
and so be it. We'll be there together on top of the roof.
So this episode will actually go out on Wednesday, 2 days following the eclipse. So if you're seeing this, uh we made it. The
It's the
world
Y2K.
the world survived.
Y2K. It's the Y2K bug all over again.
We'll be like, hey, the world didn't end because check it
Yeah,
out. We're still
that's your
here.
friends. Either that or this is like an extremely creepy post-mortem thing that happened. Whatever.
Right, right.
Be like, hey,
It'll be
these two guys predicted this.
yeah, it'll be discovered like 100 years from now. Wow, where this video file from, is that 2024? That's 2 days before the eclipse. Um, so yeah, back to Office Space. We got so we can talk about Peter. Ron Livingstone played him. Had a great deadpan delivery, just embodying that feeling of being completely over his boring office job. But we've also got Jennifer Aniston, who was probably the biggest name in the movie at the time. She's the waitress that Peter falls for. And this was really her first, I guess, movie role after becoming a big star on Friends. Like, she had some other movie, like she was in Leprechaun
Yeah,
pre-Friends, but I mean, who remembers that?
and Friends hadn't ended then,
No,
right?
no, no,
It's
no.
still
This
they
was,
still had another 3 years left or so. Didn't
I think this was during maybe the fourth or fifth season of
okay.
Friends. So yeah, so yeah, it was fun seeing her in there. I mean, Jennifer Aniston's gorgeous anyway, so I don't mind watching her in whatever. Um, but yeah, it was kind of a big deal to get her to be in the movie that was so low budget, and like, apparently behind the scenes the studio wanted, um they wanted bigger names. Like, they threw around Ben Affleck's name, Matt Damon's name, but apparently Mike Judge, who wrote, directed, created this awesome movie, stuck to his guns, and he wanted a more of an unknown cast.
Mm-hmm.
um so good instincts
Well,
on
I
that one.
mean, yeah, think about who Mike Judge was at the time. I mean, he did Beavis and Butthead and he did King of the Hill. So, I think he was already um, into that obscure type, yet kind of funny type, uh, I guess, thing creativity that he had. I mean, it doesn't strike me as, uh, you know, we've talked about this in previous podcast that we did. You don't necessarily think of, we think of the people that are in those roles, and that you watch them. I can't see Affleck or Damon, being Ron Livingston, or being, Peter, right? Um, and Michael Bolton, this nerdiest of nerds, that is actually deep down is a complete, you know, gangster, and like just wants this guy to come out, right? But like, that, like, there are people that you interact with in the workplace that are just like that, right? So, but no, I can't. I mean, it's good for Judge for doing what you did there, because I can't see it any other way.
All right. Favorite scenes. I mean, this is the part that could go on forever. Favorite scenes, favorite lines,
Mhm.
from the movie. What do you got?
Well, I mean, do you want a top five or do you want an
Yeah,
actual?
let's go to the top five.
Yeah, I mean, like it starts out with a banger, right?
Let's
Okay,
let's
like
just let's just say
he's
from
in
the start
traffic.
to the finish, the whole
Yeah,
thing is just great.
like starts out with a banger with he's in traffic and like tries to switch lanes and the other
Oh
lane
my
goes pulls
gosh.
ahead of him and they
And
and
that's
the old
exactly how it works too.
I know I
You
know.
switch lanes and then the other like yeah. And then it's like you stay in
um
your lane and it's gonna stay still.
yeah, you know, really though, when he has his neighbor over, and they are because this is and really it is my favorite because it has been my most quoted between all of our friends and outside of just within my life. When Lawrence is over at his apartment and he's like talking about doing the drywall down at the new McDonald's and they get into what would you do with $1 million, and he's like, tell you what to do, man.
What I do, man.
Two chicks at the same time. And like and you know and then he was like, well, take a look at my brother, he's broke and don't do shit. So yeah, I mean, I think that one is probably my favorite. But I mean, anytime that I mean, when they're at the party, when they're talking about the jump to conclusions map, the tchotchkes or the flingers or whatever, talking about the flare,
Oh
like
my gosh.
any of those, right? I mean, seriously, it's burned right here. But I think Lawrence is that one's my anytime that Lawrence shows up, it was he, I think he kind of low key steals the movie.
I think my favorite Lawrence moment is after they've discovered that they screwed up on the decimal or whatever, and they've wound up stealing like hundreds of thousands of dollars instead of a
Yeah,
few pennies.
yeah.
And like they're
No,
the other guys leave and like you're a bad man, Peter. And then Peter's just like, hey Lawrence, you want to come over? No, man, I don't want you to my life too.
that's right. I don't need you messing up my life. And then he comes out before he's like getting ready to turn himself in. He's like, check your cornhole, man. He's
That's a
just
good friend. It's
well,
a good
and then
friend.
but like, and this is also it too because like you go through those phases and you're like, man, am I really even doing what I'm supposed to be doing in my life? And like you look at Lawrence and he literally just worry he's a construction guy, and that's what Peter ends up doing at the end of this
Yeah.
movie is like, maybe he's onto something. Maybe he's like, maybe he's onto something. And so it's you can kind of appreciate a guy like that.
It's great. I'm talking about the embezzling thing where they try to use a computer program. I as big a fan of Superman as I am, I'm really glad they showed Superman 3 some love. Where Michael Bolton talks about it, he's like, yeah, they did it back in Superman 3.
Yeah.
It's a really underrated movie, in my opinion. Like, Michael, come on, man. And then his interaction with the Bobs,
Oh my
trying
gosh.
to trying to play up that, yeah, Michael Bolton's great. You can call
Yeah.
me Mike if you want to.
And it
Then
ruined it
that
for
shuts him
him.
down.
Ruined it for him. Yeah.
We got Michael Bolton. He's no good. Night Samir not gonna work here anymore. So wait, you're giving me a promotion and you're firing Michael and Samir?
This is a big moment, Pete.
We think he's got upper middle management written all over him. Yeah,
Lumbergh is like, yeah, yeah.
gonna have
Uh,
to disagree with you on that. And then they turn the tables on him, and
and
they're
they
like,
start, yeah, exactly.
"What can you tell us about these TPS reports?" Yeah,
I've got 8 bosses, Bob. He says,
eight,
I beg you, like you got his attention. I beg your pardon. 8.
eight, Bob. So if here's a question for you: if you could work at Initech Would you
Mhm.
want to be in sales, software development, or a completely different department?
Well,
Which part would be
uh,
the least soul crushing?
yeah, as you know, sales has carried me through my entire career. But I went to school to Bluefield and did business administration and information technology, so I could do the programming piece also. So, I, so it's a really that's a really tough decision because like there are two different elements, and I intentionally didn't go down the development road, but now I sit there and I think about it, I was like maybe I should have. So I would probably be the salesperson. Um, but I can also see myself in the other role too.
Yeah. Uh, I don't know. I think about it. I was horrible at sales when I was in banking. But I don't know how much of that was my personality and how much of it was I was strictly the drive-through teller.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, especially when I was down in North Carolina, and you just can't sell things at the drive-through. Like,
Nah.
and I don't know how many times I had to try to explain that to the other tellers and the manager.
Your eight bosses.
Yeah, my eight bosses. When I forgot to put a cover sheet on my TPS reports. Uh, it's so funny though. There were a couple of times where I happened to do the right thing at the right moment, and like our regional manager happened to be in the branch
Mm-hmm.
and witnessed me doing something amazing. And then like
Mm-hmm.
apparently, and Charles, the branch manager, he was on a call at the end of the week on their weekly regional call between all the
Mm-hmm.
branches. And the regional manager, she gets on there and she says, "When I think of great tellers, I think of Aaron Peck. You know, because he is constant, he's at the drive-through, he is doing what he needs to do, and he's also getting those what were they like
Referrals.
yeah,
You
he's getting those
probably got
referrals
referrals.
up
Yeah.
to Ryan over there as the assistant
Mm-hmm.
manager. He's doing what needs to be done for the FSRs. I'm
Yeah.
like, who does she know who she's talking
You're
about?
like me?
I'm like,
What?
I wasn't on that call, but I was like, I know Charles had to be sitting in his office, like, yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that one. You
Oh
saw
man.
one thing in like a 10-minute span of one day that I
Yeah.
just happened to do. And like, let's talk about the other 50
Yeah.
customers that came through the line in the last three
Yeah.
hours, and I'm just like getting them in and out of there as quickly as I can.
They're like, we're gonna give you a promotion, Aaron.
Yeah,
We're gonna put four
Aaron,
people underneath
Aaron,
of you.
Aaron has got middle management written all over him. Oh man, banking
Oh,
was not my forte.
oh, mine either.
He says after 20 years in the business.
Exactly.
Well, it looks like we are running low on time, so
This
that's
is
all
the
we got.
fastest. Yeah, man, this is the fastest half an hour. That
I
are
know.
you sure? Can we edit? Can we go an hour?
Let's just keep going. Well,
Oh,
we can't do an hour because I'm on the free version of Zoom.
oh, right.
Uh, so Landon, like we do have like the official like paid version where you can do like there's no time limit. But Landon has that like it's his password. And so when I
Mhm.
tried to log in under him, it sent his email that 6-digit code or whatever that
Oh yeah,
is needed
yeah.
to jump back on.
Uh
You didn't
uh
say the magic word.
uh.
All right. Well, I do want to thank you, Brandon, for jumping back on here and going through this movie. I feel like I'll need to watch it this afternoon just because. Um, and I know I'll crack up like it's the first time I'm watching it all over again. I do want to say real quick. we were talking about our younger viewers, younger listeners. Um, I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but we did our 100th episode not too long ago, and did a giveaway. And just wanted to acknowledge that Noah, who is the one who won the graphic novel, he did make a comment on our I can't remember which episode it was recently, just but did let us know that he did get the graphic novel. So I hope he enjoys that, Noah. If you get a chance to read it and you want to let us know how it was, and if you want to get on the show, let us know. We'll loop you in, and we can have that conversation about All Star Superman. It's one of the best Superman movies stories I think I've ever seen put to paper. So uh enjoy that, and keep listening, keep watching. We appreciate you. All right. Again, Brandon, thank you so much for jumping on here, man.
This is always a blast, buddy, and appreciate you having me. And we've got to nail down another one
Yeah,
because this is a lot of fun. This is a whole
we'll
lot of fun. So
we'll come up with another one. Be careful during the eclipse. We'll have to let our viewers know who survives next time we record. But all right. So listeners, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you'll never miss a new episode. And until next time, have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.
thanks, guys.